We are now live from Florida Home Deals. Hey, Alexa doesn't know the answer to this. Dave, do you know the answer? How do you get this into this?
Very difficultly. It's like one of those it's like trying to get the camping tent back into the little tiny like 2-inch sack that they give you. Like
Oh,
it never happens.
I'm returning it that way. They can figure out how to repack it. Those are really cool, affordable beach hut shades. Easy, lightweight. They're only $20 at Walmart. But I
Nice.
can't get it back in the pack, so I don't want it.
Got to get it from Costco.
Oh yeah, Costco has some neat things.
I buy everything from Costco. It seems like because they're very liberal return policy. Because if you try it out and you don't like it for whatever reason,
Yep.
you just return it. Now, 99% of the stuff you never end up returning, but sometimes it's just cool. They've got some. And here's a weird thing: like maybe it just causes you to want to buy it because like there's always this like limited stock, and once they're out, they're out. They might never restock it again, so it kind of creates that impulse
Grab it
buying.
now.
Yeah, yeah.
Grab it
You
now.
now you like we got plates there last week, and I'm like, man, these plates are great. And I went back and they haven't stocked them since.
Oh,
So yeah, I'm like, are you guys ever gonna restock these? And they're like, it's Costco. You never know.
you never know. So I have a question.
Hmm.
What is the purpose of Memorial Day?
I'm glad you asked that because I'm actually wearing an official Army PT uniform or what's left of it because it's a little bit old, right? As you can tell, I don't do a lot of PT these days. I'm not sure where this thing came from, this little double chin there, but yeah, to all you know my serving and fallen comrades, I salute you. You
Thank
know,
you for your service.
yes, thank you for your service. Um, it's it all started back. A lot of people don't realize this. Memorial Day isn't the day to buy hot dogs and go to the pool or go camping. Memorial Day started after the Civil War because that was the bloodiest conflict in American history up until that point, right? And it's unfortunate that we had Americans killing Americans, and so that it was actually considered Decoration Day, and so they would decorate the graves of the fallen, and it just kind of evolved over time to incorporate First World War II, and then everything through or World War One, then everything through World War II, Vietnam, Afghanistan wars. I mean, you name it, it's in there. So it's kind of been an all-encompassing thing. So it's just a time to appreciate those who have served and have bled and died for their country, and gives us the ability to do what we're doing now: freedom of speech, freedom of knowledge, freedom of what freedoms we've got left, right? So yeah, I'm pretty
Remember those
excited.
lost,
Yeah,
right? In the
yeah,
time. Yes. That's a good day to be with family, good day to celebrate and to be thankful
yeah, for
you
sure.
can be with your family.
Good day to buy homes.
Hey! What's going on in the mortgage market today?
Yeah, so right now, a lot of people are coming out of the post-apocalyptic Corona, whatever. So that's kind of the topics that we're hearing about constantly in the news today and everything. That's the reason why we work from home now, and I can wear T-shirts and not suits. So it's a little bit different environment. We'll see if this is the new norm. Refinances have been huge. People are getting back out there and purchasing homes, and home purchases are going through the roof. There's a lack of inventory, and people are trying to balance that with refinancing as well. We have had over a 278% increase in refinances this year,
Wow.
which
Wow,
is
that's good.
huge.
Yeah.
And the numbers just going up and up and up. We're one of the few lenders that can now close refinances in less than 30 days. But
Mhm.
like a lot of those big box lenders, that, the big banks, they're taking, 60, 90 days. Some of them aren't allowed to even lock in their interest rate until it's clear to close. So it's just, it's crazy time for our industry. And so everybody's trying to capture these interest rates that are in the twos and the threes. I mean, a 30-year fixed in the twos. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. You save
Yeah.
a lot of money if you refinance down from a 7% down to a 2%.
Yeah. Well, you'd be shocked at how many people bought their home last year, or the year before, and they got, 4.25% to 5% interest rate. Some people, a couple of bumps on their credit, or if they chose certain programs, got over a 5% interest rate.
Uh-huh.
And it's shocking how many people just don't know how low the rates are right now. And so what a lot of our customers are doing is not just taking the low interest rate, but also buying it down further, because this could be the lowest that we've ever seen interest rates. Post-election, typically after the 2016 election, the interest rates shot through the roof. Once a president gets elected, there's no more like artificially holding down the rates. And as we speak, the Fed's tapered off from buying $8 billion of MBS down to $5 billion. I know that's a big cut, but it's still a billion with a B per day. So that's a big reason why the interest rates are as low as they are, the government manipulation. But hey, let's take advantage of it while we've got it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds like a good deal. So you would even say the people that's at 5%, 4.25%, they should try to refinance now?
It doesn't hurt to look at it. I mean, literally, like a lender can, run a scenario without even a credit pull. Like I can price a scenario, my loan officers can price a scenario in 2 minutes. Like literally, they could call up and I could say, hey, you're at 4.25%, but you could be at 3.25% or 2.75% with the buy down. And like that's it. Well, how much money does that save me, Dave? Well, it's a case by case scenario, but you'd be shocked at how many people are saving tens of thousands of dollars. And sometimes people will save over $100,000 over the life of their loan, especially if they're in like a 30-year loan, So
that's a lot of money to save.
Yeah. And people will tell me, well, Dave, I don't plan on living here for forever. And I'm like, well, okay, well, why waste money between now and then? In fact, what I'm telling a lot of people now is because we've all been impacted with Corona, right?
Mm-hmm.
The stock market's weirdly impacted with Corona. Some stocks are shooting through the roof. Other stocks are bargain basement prices. But, one thing
Amazon.
I know, right? It's crazy. But one thing that's always stayed the same, and I've been talking to a lot of people about this recently, is buying real estate for retirement. I mean, you just can't go wrong because sure, real estate always appreciates, but what they don't realize is that rent payment is your dividend. How often are you going to find a stock with a dividend right now, right? Like that's if you don't have real estate as one of your lines of income, and you're over the age of 21, like, what are you thinking?
What do you retire with?
The government will not take care of you through retirement. I'm sorry. Please don't try to turn us into a socialist country because you haven't planned for retirement. Like the government's just ain't gonna happen. It's just,
wow.
And most people can't live off of their 401k. I mean, if you're used to making $100,000 a year, and you start pulling that out of your 401k, you retire at 65, you live to 95, you're broke in no time, right? So, but real estate, this, you've got $5,000, $6,000 a month coming in from rents.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like those houses are going to go disappear. It's not like you're liquidating a stock, right? But if you did have to liquidate, then all of a sudden, boom, you sell a house and your residual income goes down by a few $100s, but you've got $200,000 in the bank.
Wow.
So it's a much smarter avenue. So let's say they refinance now and got that lower interest rate. And then a year from now, they're like, hey, we want to upsize or downsize or buy 10 more investment properties, right? They can move out of their house. They don't have to they don't have to refinance it into an investment property because they've lived in it for a couple of years post refinance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now they can come to you and buy their next primary residence or their next investment home or the next second home or whatever they're looking for their next opportunity. But I'm a little biased because I'm in this business and I understand it, but I really think that real estate is the best way to go. Like there just isn't. I haven't found any stock or this miracle multi-level marketing thing that pays off nearly as good as real estate.
No. Real estate is the safest. And
Yeah.
it brings in your income. Either you're flipping, you're wholesaling, you're renting. It's going to bring in the income just as long as you keep it as a business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and people say, well, Dave, don't home prices go down? I mean, look at 2008. Okay, but you only lost money if you sold in 2008. Like, it's not like somebody ran over to your house with a flaming torch and burned it to the ground in 2008. You still have your asset, right? Did it go down in value? Yes. Did it come right back up in value? Yes, right? Yeah. So the only people that lost money in the housing crash were the people who sold out. It wasn't a crash if you didn't sell out. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people lost money because it was their primary residence. They had zero residual income and they lost their job and they had to sell, right? Now, that's a different story, but that's not your primary residence. That's not an investment property.
No.
If it's an investment property, somebody else is making your payment for you, right? And if they're not making it, you just switch out and find the next person that will. So it's a different strategy altogether, and people say, well, Dave, you only make money when you sell the house. Not if you're a good landlord and you keep it occupied, right? Myra will do a great job in making sure that your home is occupied. You can buy 10 houses.
They are calling me now.
I know, right? I mean, Myra can help you buy 10 houses and make sure that they're occupied, right? But with tenants that are qualified. And even if initially you're only making, I talk a lot with my hands. I'm kind of waving them all around the place, right? But you're only making, like, let's say $300 a month, right? Now that's nothing to shake a stick at, because you buy the next house and that's another 300. And you buy the next house and that's another 300. You buy the next house and that's another 300. You buy the next house and that's another 300. But that's not where the magic happens. The magic happens when house 1, 2, 3, and 4, you're getting all that income from them, and you take that money and you pay off house 1. Now, instead of making $300 a month from that house, you're making whatever you're charging rent, maybe $2,000 a month on that. Oh my goodness. And this is where the magic happens. Now you use all that money, not to go to Vegas, but to take that and you roll it into the house 2. And how fast do you think house 2 is going to pay off if you're putting an extra $2,000 a month from house 1 and another $1,200 a month from the other houses? You're paying $3,200 extra per month on that house. It's going to pay off in no time.
Wow.
And now you've got, $2,000 from house 1, $2,000 from house 2, $1,200 from the rest of the homes, right? Paying house 3. Think of how fast house 3 is going to pay off. And now you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars in real, tangible assets. Well, Dave, what if the zombie apocalypse happens? Okay, you've got a paid-off house to build a fence around and set up your turrets, like the weird video games that are coming out now. I mean, like, literally, like, there isn't a lose situation in this if you do it correctly and you have pros like Myra on your team that are going to, keep your homes occupied and, do the tenant screenings and make sure that they qualify and do that. And you have to have people like Myra on your corner to make sure that you're purchasing at a good price point, because a lot of amateur investors purchase at price points that do allow for cash flow. You got to have $200 to $300 a month in cash flow, no matter your purchase price, right? Start small, build big. It's like Monopoly. We played when we were kids. Our grandparents played it when they were kids. Buy a bunch of greenhouses, trade them in for the orange apartment building or whatever, right? you, whatever the case is, you might start off with like, slum type homes and work your way up to mid-level homes. You never
Right.
know where people are starting at, where they're going. The key is just starting.
And
So I got went off on a tangent there.
Care of all of that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know. I know I might have kind of droned on a little bit about that, but as you can tell, I'm passionate about it because before we moved away from Michigan, but I was broke college student. I graduated engineering IT, Michigan State, right? Expensive school to go to, tons of student loans, and I started a job at a bank. And I was an engineer. I didn't know anything about banking or finance. I just was out of scope for me. And I really learned a ton. And I've noticed that the wealthy people weren't the people that were driving around the $80,000 Beamers and lived in the $1 million homes while they're working 70 hours a week to pay for it. The really rich people was like this one sweet old lady that came in, and I loved her to death. And you would think that she doesn't have a whole lot. She was very conservative in her apparel, in her car, and everything. That woman had millions of dollars paid off real estate every month. Every month, whether she did, she decided to work or she decided not to work. She had a lot of hobby work that she did, but she didn't have to. I mean, no matter what, she's going to get a $10, $15, $20,000 paycheck depending on their occupancy. I see it just automatically just depositing into her bank account. She paid a management company to manage it all for her, so she didn't even have to think about it. And that was it. She was liberated. It's different to see people liberated and not trying to keep up with the Joneses and having, rather than being a slave to money, making money your slave.
And then you have systems in place to make it work.
Yes. And I know some people watching this video might say, hey, Dave, I'm 40, 50, 60, 80 years old. I'm too old to start this. And that is the wrong way to look at it, right? Because it's like the old Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
Right.
The second best time to plant a tree is today. And even if they don't become a millionaire by the time, let's say we're starting off and we're 80 years old, right? And I'm 80 years old, I'm still going to learn this and practice it so that I can teach my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids so they're not slaves to money. You know what I'm saying? Because it's something that if you do it right, it transcends generations, right? You can buy it with your children on title, and now, assuming that your children all get along, talk with a legal person, because they don't give legal advice, right? But try to stay away from the probates of the world. Try to stay away from, reactive legal people. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, if you have like a pile of money sitting in Bank of America and something happens, you get hit by a car and you're at the pearly gates, and you look back and you're like, oh, dang, all that money's sitting in Bank of America. Like, that's a hard thing to pass to your children. I mean, that is a really hard thing to pass to your children. And but if you have real estate and you've set it up properly, you've gone through Myra, she's got you all taken care of. She's got the right people on the title. She's got the right wills in place. You're working with a true professional. And you get hit by the car and you're standing at the pearly gates and you look back and you're like, dang, like I set up my future generation, my future bloodline for success. That's a different feeling. You know what I'm saying?
And it's a good retirement. It's a stable retirement. Along with your Social Security, you're going to get a monthly rent check.
Yeah. I'm personally not going to rely on Social Security. No. I mean, even if we do get it, it's so minimal and it's so painful. And, I feel like it's, a Ponzi scam that we're all required to play into. And I'm not trying to get political. I'm just talking from economics solely, right? It's a Ponzi scheme that we're required to participate in. And so I count that money that we're throwing into that as a loss. and my true retirement's going to come from my real estate portfolio, and I've got stock. I try to live as conservatively as possible and reinvest into real estate whenever possible, especially now, post-corona. I can't think of anything better to invest in,
Nope. There's going to be a lot of people needing to sell.
Yeah. I mean, this is good. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. That's a positive way for the future.
Yeah. I think that, going back to my story, I was a broke college student. I got into real estate investing. When everything else got hammered in 2008, all my friends were losing their jobs because we're in banking, right? I mean, we're we're just getting crushed in banking, right? The only thing that's survived us through that is because I had a handful of homes that were paid off, and the reason why they were paid off is because while I was working and earning a living for my family, I wasn't taking any money personally from any of my real estate. The real estate reinvested into itself. Just that scenario that I told you about stacking and paying off homes quickly, that's exactly what I did. And I'm an old engineer guy. I didn't know hardly anything about finance. So if I can do it, you can do it. Anybody can do this, right? Yeah. I learned how to design engines and build cathode ray tubes, which are outdated, by the way, right? I didn't know about personal investing. I just replicated what some of the people that I met at the banking business, I just replicated success, basically. I didn't create it. I saw people that I'm at the front of my lifespan, and I'm seeing people at the back of their lifespan, and I want to learn as much as those people as possible because they got 60, 70 years on me, right, of experience. I'm soak it in like a sponge. Teach me more, right? Not just about money, but about life too. And that's where, I literally just copied off of, and I know it's weird to say, hey, if I'm a 22-year-old guy, some of my friends are set in their 70s, and they were, right? And they became my friends, and I would be like, oh my gosh, Phil, what do I do, right? And it's cool because Phil's got 50 years of experience on me. This cat knows his stuff, right? So I'm not saying this is my advice. These are the advices from my friends that, if they're alive today, they would be in their, 90s, right? Or 100 years old by now. And they just have so much more experience, life experience than we do. And I know I'm kind of rambling about that, but I think that we're too used to just Googling stuff constantly. We forget the wisdom that people have because the stuff that Google will teach you is work 70 hours a week and maybe someday you'll retire off of Social Security. And that's a lie. It really is. That's why we have all of our friends at Walmart as greeters. No offense to the Walmart greeters, but do that as a hobby, not as an income.
Welcome to Walmart. Get your crap and go home.
No, if you're making 20 grand a month off of your real estate holdings and you want to be a Walmart greeter, bam, perfect, right? But if you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't plan for retirement, I don't know how to invest, I never bought a cent of real estate in my life, and now I have to make $7.25 an hour to hopefully survive when I paid into this my entire life and I was told by somebody that they'd take care of me. It just doesn't happen. Benjamin Franklin said, those who give up a little bit of liberty in exchange for some security deserve neither and will lose both. How powerful is that, right? So,
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, here we go. Not being philosophical. Don't get me on this real estate for retirement rant, but I highly encourage you guys to do it, and gals. I'm from up north, so I say you guys, right? So Myra is the best person to talk to.
Aww.
She's a professional in the business. Because if you don't know what you're doing, if you're an amateur real estate, can burn you pretty quickly. And it's okay to be an amateur. I'm an amateur at cycling, right? So I would probably go to a cyclist or whatever, to get advice. Myra is a professional when it comes to real estate. She can find the good deals, she can do the cash flows, and she can find the renters. It's an all-encompassing package, right? There's no other. It's kind of a no-brainer.
off the hook here.
Yeah, because all
So
they have to do is say, "Hey, Myra, I want to be a real estate investor. What do I need to do?" Bam, you can line them out with the steps no matter where they're at. If they're,
find a mentor and a coach, and get them into the real estate investment groups.
yeah,
That's a good thing right there. And oh boy, there's a lot of information out there to
yeah.
help people invest.
Heck, here's the real estate investment group. I'm going to take all their bells and whistles away for a minute. Here was what it comes to, right? Rather than going into and spending thousands of dollars on these fancy courses where you got to drive down the city and sit for 8 hours or whatever, I'm going to sum it up for you guys. You want to be a very, very successful investor? It's super easy. Buy low, cash flow, work with professionals. That's it.
Way to go.
I saved you thousands of dollars in seminar costs. That's it. Right?
Call Dave, the money man.
Yeah, dozens of hours of listening to gurus who've never bought a thing in their life. Here's a guy who was an engineer, knew nothing. I was a moron when it came to finance and real estate. I surrounded myself with professionals. I bought low. I made sure cash flowed. That's it. End of story. Acquired over $1 million in real estate. Paid it off in my 20s. Right. It supported my family. I got a big family, right? I still, have a beautiful paid off house for my mom. It's just different. It changed my life because I was broke all my life. And if I can learn it, you can learn it. And that's it. Work with Myra, buy low, cash flow. Done. That's it. That's
perfect.
It,
right? Yes, and David, you can get us the loans, mortgages for those investment properties, right?
Yeah, it's easy. I love working with investors because they're my people. You know what I'm saying? They're people who, no matter what walk of life you're in, if you're the 21-year-old broke guy drowning in student loans, working 70 hours a week to feed your family, I've been there, right? If you've got $10 million in the bank and everything's free and clear, and no matter if you work or not, you've got $30,000 a month coming in. I haven't been there, but my buddy Phil has been there, right? For many, many years. I can tell you everything he told me. Yeah. So, it's just, it's different, right? So I like people who just have a desire to be financially savvy. No matter what walk of life you're in, if you have a desire to be financially savvy, you're my people. I love working with you. Right. I don't want too many people fall victim to throwing their lives away at a career when they could be building something that's transgenerational.
And a career they don't like. Let me get that down. Look, call David. Look, there's that number.
Yeah, exactly. Working for the paycheck. I saw a lot of my good friends were at the end of their life, and not one of them ever said, "Oh my goodness, I wish I would have stayed in this job I hated because it paid really well." Not one of them. Yeah. Not one of them. It was always relationships, number one, without a doubt. Everybody that I knew that was, and I gleaned a lot of wisdom from my friends that were in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. When I was young, and it was all about relationships and family. So how do you get to relationships and family? You build residual wealth so that you don't have to work the 70 hours a week indefinitely, right? And so that's always been kind of my guideposts, through my life, is the wisdom that I gleaned from those who had a lot more experience than I did. And, I might only be like 40 years old, right? But I've got so much wisdom from my friends that were like, 90s when, they stopped giving me the wisdom, right? And I mean, they just, with 50 years on me, I mean, that's a lot. So I want to impart that wisdom onto anybody who, whether they're, 15 or 95, right? Just the things that, we've learned and we've experienced. And, I think that this is critical, sharing that. And then the cool thing about it is every house that you help one of your clients purchase, this can be a house that their grandkids could inherit. I
Right.
mean, your great grandkids could inherit.
Or
Might need a few repairs by then, but you know, it's that asset that just keeps giving and giving and giving, and that's what I mean by transgenerational. And that's why it's so important to work with somebody like Myra up front, because you know it can either benefit you for generations or it can burn you out, right? So it's all about your team.
it is. It is. Wow. That's some good information, David. And now we know what Memorial Day is all about and how to get out there and invest in rental homes, invest and make rental income. So
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you for your time today, David.
Well,
Anybody
thank you,
give
Mara.
him a call? Let me get the finger. There we go.
Wait, we go like that. There we go.
Yeah, get over there. There we go. Call David Young from Cardinal Financial, the money man.
The lifestyle man.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, everybody, have a great Memorial weekend.
Stay safe and healthy.
Stay safe and healthy. Thanks, David.
Thanks.